The Rhododendron Festival was in full swing, filling the small town of Oregon with vibrant colors and the sweet scent of blooming flowers. I had looked forward to this event for months, a chance to escape the monotony of my daily life. My friends and I planned to meet at the park, where stalls filled with local crafts and food lined the paths. The lively chatter and laughter around me were infectious, yet a sense of isolation gnawed at my insides. My husband was away on a work trip, leaving me to navigate this festive atmosphere alone. As I wandered past booths showcasing handmade jewelry and artisanal jams, I felt like an outsider peering into a world of joy. I smiled politely at vendors but struggled to engage fully. My friends would arrive soon, but until then, I was left to my own thoughts. The festival buzzed with life, yet I felt disconnected from it all. A sudden burst of laughter nearby caught my attention. I turned to see a group of young people gathered around a booth selling ice cream. Among them was a young man who stood out with his easy smile and bright blue eyes. He looked to be in his late 20s, carefree and full of energy, a stark contrast to the weight of my responsibilities. I tried to shake off the feeling that pulled me toward him, reminding myself that he was likely just enjoying his day like everyone else. But as fate would have it, our paths crossed when he approached me while I examined a display of handcrafted pottery. "Those are beautiful," he said, gesturing toward a vase painted with delicate rhododendrons. "Yes," I replied, forcing myself to sound casual. "They really capture the spirit of the festival." He stepped closer, his interest in me palpable. "I'm new in town for the festival," he said casually. "What do you recommend seeing?" I hesitated for a moment before responding. "The flower parade is always a highlight. It's quite stunning." He nodded enthusiastically, and we fell into an easy conversation that flowed naturally between us. As we spoke about our favorite things, music, travel, local food, I noticed how genuine his interest seemed. He asked questions that went beyond mere small talk. He wanted to know about me. "I'm Sarah," I introduced myself after several minutes of chatting. "Nice to meet you, Sarah," he grinned. "I'm Jake." Jake's presence was magnetic. It pulled me in despite my better judgment. We talked about everything and nothing as if we had known each other for years instead of mere minutes. The world around us faded away, the laughter of children playing nearby and the sounds of live music drifting through the air became distant as we focused solely on each other. Our conversation took an unexpected turn when Jake leaned closer and asked softly, "What brings you out here alone?" My heart raced slightly at his question. It felt too personal for such a brief encounter. "Just needed some fresh air," I replied lightly but could feel something deeper stirring within me as our eyes locked momentarily. "I get that," he said thoughtfully, glancing around before returning his gaze to mine. "Sometimes it's nice just to escape." A silence lingered between us, a charged moment that hinted at something unspoken yet powerful brewing beneath the surface. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket, a reminder that reality awaited me outside this fleeting encounter. My friends were almost here, soon this moment would be over. "I should probably find my friends," I said reluctantly. "Of course," Jake replied quickly but didn't move away just yet. "Maybe we can meet up later? There's so much more festival left." I hesitated again. Every fiber in me screamed caution while another part craved adventure, the thrill of something new amid my mundane existence. "Sure," I managed finally, surprised at how easily those words slipped from my lips despite knowing they could lead down an uncertain path. "Great. Let's say, by that food truck over there?" He pointed toward a colorful vendor serving tacos adorned with fresh cilantro and lime. "Sounds good." I nodded before forcing myself to step back from him slowly as if retreating from an invisible line drawn between us. As I walked away toward where my friends would soon arrive, excitement mixed with apprehension coursed through me like an electric current. This unexpected connection felt both exhilarating and terrifying all at once. The festival continued its lively dance around me while thoughts swirled in my mind like petals caught in the wind. Could this young man truly be interested? Did it even matter? What would happen if we met again? The laughter returned as my friends arrived just moments later. They enveloped me in their warmth while sharing stories about their day so far, yet all I could think about was Jake's charming smile and those piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through me. In trying not to dwell on what might be waiting later at that food truck or what it might mean for someone like me, a woman entrenched in middle age, I couldn't help but wonder whether this fleeting encounter would lead somewhere deeper or fade away like summer blooms after their season passed. As darkness began creeping over the sky painted with hues of orange and purple from sunset above us while festival lights twinkled into life around us, I found myself glancing back toward where Jake had stood moments earlier, searching for any sign he might still be there among all those strangers moving past each other unaware of what lay beneath their casual exchanges or hidden desires waiting silently beneath layers built over years spent conforming rather than truly living fully free from expectations imposed upon them by society or themselves alike. And just like that, I felt something shift within, the thrill mixed with fear intertwining into one singular thought. Perhaps tonight held possibilities beyond anything I've allowed myself before now. The cafe was quaint, a hidden gem nestled between the bustling festival stalls. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the sweet scent of pastries, creating an inviting atmosphere that felt like a refuge from the chaos outside. I took a deep breath as I entered, hoping to shake off the lingering remnants of uncertainty that had settled in my chest since my encounter with Jake. I spotted him at a corner table, his youthful energy radiating even in the dim light. He looked up as I approached, a smile breaking across his face that made my heart skip. "Hey," he said casually, gesturing for me to join him. "Hi," I replied, settling into the chair opposite him. The moment felt charged, electric even. A part of me wondered if this was wise, another part craved whatever this was becoming. "How's your festival experience so far?" he asked, leaning forward slightly, his eyes sparkling with genuine interest. "It's nice," I said, trying to keep my tone light. "A bit overwhelming with all the people." He nodded knowingly. "Yeah, it can be like that. But sometimes it's nice to find a quiet spot away from it all." His gaze held mine for longer than necessary, and I felt my cheeks warm under his scrutiny. We exchanged small talk about the festival, our favorite flowers, memories from past events, but beneath our casual conversation lay something deeper and unspoken. With every shared laugh and lingering glance, I could feel that magnetic pull toward him intensifying. As we talked about our lives outside the festival, his college plans and my work, I couldn't help but notice how easy it was to connect with him. He was refreshingly candid and unfiltered in ways I hadn't experienced in years. It reminded me of who I used to be before life became so routine and predictable. The cafe buzzed around us as we lost ourselves in conversation. Time slipped away unnoticed until a sudden silence enveloped us. We were both aware of how close we'd become over those few moments together. The laughter faded into something softer, more intimate, as he reached across the table slightly. "Can I ask you something?" he said quietly, his tone shifting from playful to serious. "Sure," I replied cautiously. "What do you want?" His question hung in the air between us like an uninvited guest. I hesitated. It was such a simple yet profound inquiry that caught me off guard. What did I want? Did I even know? My marriage had settled into complacency over the years. Now here was this young man who stirred feelings long buried beneath layers of obligation and routine. "I don't know," I admitted finally, feeling vulnerable under his gaze. He leaned back slightly but didn't break eye contact. "It's okay not to have everything figured out." His words struck a chord within me, a reminder that life didn't always have to follow a set path or meet societal expectations. We shared another moment of silence before he leaned closer again, lowering his voice as if afraid someone might overhear us. Can we just forget everything else for a while? He asked softly. I glanced around nervously but found only strangers absorbed in their own worlds. None seemed aware of our clandestine connection forming right there amidst the festivities outside. Before I could respond, Jake closed the distance between us further still. Our lips met softly for what felt like an eternity yet lasted only seconds before pulling away abruptly as reality crashed back around us like waves against rocks on a stormy shore. What did we just do? My heart raced as confusion washed over me alongside exhilaration at what had just transpired between us, a kiss that felt both thrilling and terrifying all at once. I don't know, he whispered back breathlessly, running a hand through his hair as if trying to make sense of it too. But it felt real. The weight of guilt began creeping back into my mind like an unwelcome shadow looming over this unexpected moment. The knowledge that my husband was miles away while here I sat sharing something intimate with someone else entirely different from him in every conceivable way, age, experience, everything. Just then, our mutual friend Sarah strolled by outside on her way home from work. She paused when she caught sight of us through the cafe window, a brief flicker of surprise crossing her face before she continued walking without acknowledging us further. My heart sank at her unexpected appearance. Would she think less of me? Would she tell others? The thought sent chills down my spine. What if this moment slipped beyond our control? Maybe we should go, Jake suggested quietly after noticing my sudden shift in demeanor. A hint of concern etched across his features, now contrasting with earlier bravado when he'd kissed me so boldly moments ago without hesitation or fear holding him back then. Yeah, my voice trailed off as uncertainty flooded back into focus again. The thrill replaced by anxiety about what any future encounters might entail now that boundaries had been crossed so carelessly between us both without fully considering consequences ahead looming just beyond reach like clouds gathering on an otherwise clear day. As we exited together into the evening air thickened by scents wafting through festival stalls nearby, it felt surreal walking side by side after sharing such an intimate moment just minutes prior while knowing full well how fragile everything truly was beneath surface appearances crafted meticulously over years spent conforming rather than living authentically, amidst expectations imposed upon oneself or society alike. Jake turned toward me suddenly again after several moments passed where neither spoke, his expression earnest now tinged with vulnerability too evident beneath youthful bravado displayed earlier still present somehow despite everything shifting beneath our feet just now. Can we meet again tomorrow? I hesitated once more, caught between desires ignited anew yet battling guilt simmering within alongside fear creeping back into consciousness reminding me what lay at stake here. Comfort versus desire weighed heavily upon shoulders already burdened by choices made throughout life thus far leading inevitably toward crossroads seen looming ahead now clearer than ever before. I'll think about it, I managed finally after swallowing hard against rising tide threatening to drown out reason altogether amidst swirling emotions flooding mind racing faster than heartbeat echoing loudly inside chest constricted tightly around uncertainty surrounding future paths chosen moving forward. As we parted ways reluctantly under fading twilight skies painted vibrant colors overhead, I couldn't shake lingering questions spiraling endlessly around whether this fleeting moment could blossom into something more meaningful or whether it would simply fade away along with summer blooms once festival ended leaving behind only memories tinged bittersweet, alongside lessons learned amid turmoil unfolding silently beneath surface appearances crafted carefully throughout years spent conforming, rather than truly living fully free from expectations imposed upon oneself or society alike. The festival buzzed with excitement as I wandered through the vibrant stalls, the air thick with the scent of blooming rhododendrons. Each step felt heavier than the last, weighed down by a mix of exhilaration and dread. I had spent the night replaying our brief encounter in my mind, dissecting every word, every glance. The thrill of our kiss lingered on my lips like a secret I couldn't share. I spotted him across the park, his laughter ringing out like music amidst the chatter of festival goers. He stood with a group of friends, but his gaze drifted toward me, a magnetic pull that drew me closer despite the chaos around us. My heart raced as I approached, and for a moment everything else faded away, the colorful tents, the sounds of joy, until it was just us. "Hey," he said when I reached him, his smile brightening the afternoon sun. "Hi," I replied, trying to sound casual despite my racing heart. "Are you enjoying the festival?" he asked. "It's beautiful here," I said, gesturing to the blooms surrounding us. "But it feels different this year." He leaned in slightly, curiosity sparking in his eyes. "How so?" I hesitated, feeling exposed under his gaze. "I guess, it's just made me think about things." "Like what?" he pressed gently. "About choices and paths not taken." The words slipped out before I could stop them. His expression softened. "Sometimes it's good to rethink things." The conversation flowed easily between us as we moved through the throngs of people. With each shared laugh and fleeting touch of hands, my doubts began to dissolve into something lighter, something almost hopeful. But then came a moment that shattered my fragile bubble of happiness. We turned a corner near a food stall when I overheard snippets of conversation from two women nearby. "Did you hear about Lisa and Tom?" "She found out he was seeing someone else," one woman said in hushed tones. The other gasped softly. "No. That's awful. How could he do that?" The words hit me like an icy wave crashing over warm sand. My stomach twisted at the thought of betrayal, not just for Lisa but for myself too. Was this what I was doing? Was I becoming someone who hurt others for fleeting moments of happiness? I turned back to him, forcing a smile that felt brittle against my skin. "Let's get something to eat," I suggested hastily. He nodded but looked concerned as we made our way toward a food truck selling fresh tacos. The laughter around us faded into background noise as I wrestled with my thoughts. As we waited for our order, he leaned closer again, lowering his voice slightly. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I lied too quickly. "You don't seem fine." He searched my face earnestly. I took a deep breath and forced myself to be honest for once. "It's just, hearing those women talk made me think about everything." "What do you mean?" "I don't want to hurt anyone." The words tumbled out before caution could hold them back. He studied me carefully before responding. "You're not hurting anyone by exploring what you want." His confidence stirred something within me, a flicker of defiance against societal expectations pressing down on my shoulders like heavy chains. Our food arrived then, and we settled onto benches under an enormous rhododendron tree bursting with pink blooms above us, a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing inside me. As we ate together in silence punctuated only by laughter from nearby families and friends enjoying their day at the festival, an unexpected warmth settled between us again. It felt safe yet exhilarating at once. After finishing our meal, he suggested we take a walk along one of the quieter paths lined with trees dripping in blossoms, a perfect escape from prying eyes amidst all this chaos. With each step along that shaded trail surrounded by nature's beauty unfurling around us like secrets waiting to be discovered together, it became harder to ignore how much deeper this connection had grown since our first encounter days ago during festival festivities filled with laughter echoing endlessly beneath sprawling skies painted bright hues inspiring hope against despair lurking beneath surface appearances crafted carefully throughout years spent conforming rather than truly living. Fully free from expectations imposed upon oneself or society alike. Our fingers brushed lightly as we walked side by side until finally, without thinking, I reached out fully entwining my hand with his. It felt right somehow despite everything else weighing heavily on conscience battling against desires bubbling up from within. And then, our lips met softly under that canopy of blossoms swaying gently overhead. Time seemed suspended in that moment where nothing else mattered except us lost together amid fragrant petals drifting lazily down around us like confetti celebrating newfound connections forged in secrecy amidst chaos swirling all around. But just as quickly as it began, The spell broke when voices echoed behind us, breaking through enchanted silence shared between two souls seeking solace together away from prying eyes lurking nearby. Instincts kicked in, urging caution, reminding me harshly about consequences looming large over choices made impulsively without considering repercussions, waiting patiently at edges ready to pounce. "We should go," I murmured reluctantly, pulling back slightly, feeling guilt creeping back into thoughts swirling around uncertain future paths chosen moving forward. He nodded silently, understanding unspoken fears lingering beneath surface appearances crafted carefully throughout years spent conforming rather than truly living, fully free from expectations imposed upon oneself or society alike. As we walked back toward where others gathered, celebrating life outside those shaded pathways filled only moments ago with whispers shared between two souls seeking solace together away from prying eyes lurking nearby, a chill crept into my heart, reminding me this wasn't just innocent fun anymore. There were real lives tangled up in these choices now laid bare before both our eyes, revealing truths hidden beneath layers built carefully over time. Doubts crept in again, like shadows slipping silently across sunlit paths leading toward darker corners where consequences awaited, quietly biding their time until ready to strike without mercy, leaving nothing but devastation behind once choices made irrevocably altered lives forevermore. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting a soft glow in the room. I lay there, tangled in sheets and thoughts, replaying the events of the night before. We spent the night together, and it felt both exhilarating and terrifying. His presence lingered like the scent of rhododendrons after a spring rain, beautiful yet fleeting. As I turned to glance at him, still asleep beside me, a wave of uncertainty washed over me. What had I done? The thrill of our connection battled with the weight of my reality. My husband would be back soon, and here I was, wrapped in a moment that felt so right yet so wrong. I quietly slipped out of bed, careful not to disturb him. The house was still silent, save for the soft sounds of nature outside, a reminder that life continued beyond these four walls. I brewed some coffee, needing clarity as much as caffeine. The aroma filled the air, grounding me in my thoughts. Sipping from my mug, I stared out at the garden where vibrant colors danced in the morning breeze. How strange it was to feel alive in one part of my life while another felt like it was slowly fading away. The festival was just around the corner. It would be bustling with laughter and joy while I carried this secret burden within me. The sound of movement behind me broke my reverie. He had woken up and joined me in the kitchen, his hair tousled and eyes still heavy with sleep. "Morning," he said softly, his voice warm like sunlight breaking through clouds. "Morning," I replied, trying to keep my tone casual despite the whirlwind inside me. We stood there together, an unspoken understanding hanging between us. I couldn't help but notice how young he looked this morning, innocent yet aware of what we had shared. "What's on your mind?" he asked as he poured himself a cup. "Just thinking about everything," I admitted cautiously. He leaned against the counter, studying me with an intensity that made my heart race. "You don't have to worry about anything right now," he said gently. "Let's just enjoy this moment." But how could I enjoy it when every second felt like a countdown? My heart raced as thoughts of my husband crept back in. His return home would shatter this fragile bubble we had created. "Can we talk about what happened last night?" I ventured hesitantly. "Sure," he replied with a nod but didn't move closer. "I'm not sure how we can continue this." My voice cracked slightly despite my efforts to remain steady. He sighed heavily but didn't look away from me. "I understand if you want to end things now." "No. It's not that simple." My frustration bubbled up unexpectedly. "I don't want to hurt you or myself." "I'm not asking you to choose right now," he reassured me quickly but didn't step closer either. Silence enveloped us again as we both wrestled with our thoughts. The reality of our situation loomed larger than ever. The age difference felt like an insurmountable wall between us despite our connection. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door that jolted us both from our contemplation. My heart raced as panic set in, Who could it be? I'll get it, I said quickly, moving toward the door while trying to mask my unease. Opening it revealed an old friend from college days, Maggie, standing there with her bright smile and arms wide open for a hug. Surprise! I thought I'd drop by since I'm in town for the festival. My stomach twisted into knots as she stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. She glanced around curiously before her eyes landed on him standing awkwardly by the kitchen counter. Oh. Who's this? She asked cheerfully, oblivious to the tension hanging thick in the air. This is, my mind raced for words that wouldn't betray what had just happened between us last night or reveal too much about who he really was to me now. Just a friend, he interjected smoothly before I could stammer an answer. Maggie smiled knowingly but moved on quickly as if sensing something deeper beneath our surface interactions or perhaps simply too excited about being reunited after all these years. I can't believe you're here. We need to catch up, she exclaimed enthusiastically while pouring herself some coffee without waiting for an invitation again. As they chatted about old times and mutual acquaintances from college days long gone by, I found myself retreating inwardly once more. Every laugh they shared echoed loudly against my internal conflict swirling around what lay ahead for me personally amidst these revelations unfolding before everyone else's eyes unaware. I caught snippets of their conversation while attempting not to appear lost in thought. Maggie spoke animatedly about plans for visiting local attractions during her stay, the festival being one highlight she couldn't wait for. And suddenly all those vibrant colors outside felt muted compared to how brightly they shone moments ago when shared only between two souls seeking solace together. When they turned their attention back toward me again after finishing reminiscing over memories long past, I felt exposed under their gaze like sunlight piercing through thick clouds revealing hidden truths beneath layers built carefully over time. What do you think? Maggie asked eagerly regarding plans for later today at one event or another, a question directed toward both men standing nearby yet somehow aimed squarely at me alone. Expectation hung heavily upon my shoulders now weighed down by choices made recently. I think that sounds great. I managed half-heartedly before glancing sideways toward him hoping he'd play along too despite everything swirling within us still unresolved. He nodded slightly but didn't say anything further. His expression remained neutral though his eyes held depths filled with emotions unspoken yet palpable lingering just beneath surfaces barely scratched upon until now. As Maggie continued discussing details excitedly, I found myself drifting away mentally again feeling overwhelmed by everything happening around us all at once. It seemed unfair how easily life could shift gears leaving someone behind struggling desperately trying to keep pace amid chaos unfolding unexpectedly without warning. After what felt like hours later, Maggie finally stood up preparing herself readying exit saying something about needing fresh air outside maybe checking out nearby gardens blooming beautifully just beyond reach outside patio doors leading toward lush greenery beckoning invitingly promising escape from realities pressing down around us all tightly bound together into one singular moment suspended forevermore caught somewhere between worlds colliding unexpectedly. Want to join? She asked brightly turning toward both men waiting patiently nearby watching closely observing reactions play out across faces revealing hidden truths lurking underneath layers built carefully over time. I glanced sideways at him again. A silent question hung between us asking whether or not we'd take plunge forward leap into unknown waters awaiting patiently beyond horizons stretching endlessly ahead filled possibilities untold waiting eagerly beckoning forth new adventures lying just beyond reach. But then reality crashed back down upon me hard gently reminding softly whispering truth buried deep within heart aching quietly longing desperately seeking answers never fully grasped before. Choices made irrevocably altering lives forevermore left wondering whether worth risks taken chasing fleeting moments slipping through fingers grasping desperately holding tightly onto dreams fading swiftly away leaving nothing but echoes behind haunting memories, lingering long after lights dimmed fading slowly into shadows cast behind. Maggie, I can't. The words slipped out before fear could stop them completely, but even so, they hung heavily charged, electric tension crackling through air surrounding all three bodies, present now aware, full weight bearing down upon shoulders burdened, carrying secrets untold. The days blurred together as I navigated the duality of my life, each moment filled with the weight of secrets. My husband had returned from his trip, and the familiar rhythm of our lives resumed, though it felt like a fragile facade. He was cheerful, eager to share stories from his travels, while I found myself nodding along, my mind drifting to thoughts of him, the young man whose presence had ignited something within me that I thought was long extinguished. I busied myself with household chores, but even the mundane tasks felt heavy. The laundry piled up in the corner of our bedroom, and dishes lingered in the sink longer than usual. Every time I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the kitchen window, I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. She looked tired, worn down by the effort of maintaining appearances. My husband would ask if I was all right, and I'd brush off his concern with a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "Maggie," he said one evening after dinner, "you've been a bit distant lately. Is something bothering you?" "Just tired," I replied too quickly, hoping he wouldn't press further. The truth was far more complicated than simple fatigue. As he settled into his usual evening routine, watching television and scrolling through his phone, I stole glances at my own device. There it was, a message from him. My heart raced as I read it, a simple invitation to meet at our cafe that weekend. The thrill coursed through me like electricity. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. The weekend arrived sooner than expected. The sun peeked through the clouds, casting a warm glow over everything as I prepared for my secret meeting. My heart raced with anticipation mixed with guilt as I slipped on a dress that felt too tight around my middle, a reminder of indulgences during our brief encounters. "Maggie?" My husband called from downstairs just as I finished putting on my lipstick. "Yes? Are you ready? We should go for a walk before dinner." I hesitated for just a moment before responding. "I'll be down in a minute." I couldn't face him right now, not when every fiber of my being wanted to run toward another life entirely. As we walked through the park later that evening, hand in hand under blooming rhododendrons, laughter mingled with shared memories echoed around us like ghosts of our pasts. But all I could think about were stolen moments waiting for me at the cafe, the young man who made me feel seen again. The next morning came too quickly. An insistent buzz from my phone woke me early. It was him again, an invitation to meet at noon instead of later as planned because he had something special in mind for us today. Excitement bubbled within me like champagne ready to overflow. But then reality crashed back down upon me hard once more, reminding, softly whispering truth buried deep within, my husband would be home soon after lunch. The weight of this secret felt heavier than ever before. How could I balance both worlds without losing myself entirely? "Maggie?" My husband's voice broke through my thoughts as he entered our room unannounced while I stood there frozen in place staring blankly at nothing in particular. "Yes? I thought we could do something together today," he suggested casually. "Sure," I replied mechanically, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes again. A dull ache settled deep inside me as we made plans for lunch, a casual outing that would leave little time for anything else but small talk and polite conversation, while all the while knowing what awaited me afterward held far more allure than anything he could offer right now. As we walked into town later that day under bright blue skies dotted with fluffy white clouds drifting lazily overhead like carefree dreams slipping away from grasping fingers yearning desperately to hold on to them forevermore, I couldn't shake off this sense of impending doom looming above us, both threatening to unravel everything if only one wrong word were spoken aloud. By noon sharp, we arrived back home where we shared quick pleasantries over sandwiches before parting ways again, my husband heading out for errands while leaving me alone once more to ponder what lay ahead during those precious moments spent alone waiting eagerly for him. Time crawled slowly until finally it arrived, the moment when everything shifted again. no longer just whispers but tangible excitement filled every corner of this small cafe where we first met amidst laughter echoing softly around us. He greeted me with warmth radiating from his smile, eyes sparkling bright enough to illuminate even the darkest corners hidden within myself, longing desperately seeking answers never fully grasped before. "Hey there," he said cheerfully as if nothing else mattered beyond this instant shared between two souls craving connection amidst chaos swirling outside these walls surrounding us both. "Hi," I managed breathlessly, feeling alive again despite everything else pulling at threads connecting us back home. Normalcy waiting patiently outside these doors, beckoning gently, reminding softly, whispering truths buried deep within hearts aching quietly, longing desperately, seeking solace found only here. We spent hours lost together, discussing dreams yet unfulfilled while sipping coffee brewed strong enough to fuel passions ignited anew. Each laugh shared felt like sunlight breaking through clouds, casting shadows away, leaving nothing behind but warmth lingering sweetly upon lips touched, briefly brushing against one another. But then reality intruded once more when an unexpected message flashed across his phone screen, breaking our reverie, a reminder that time wasn't on our side anymore. "I have to go soon," he said reluctantly, glancing toward clock ticking ominously against walls adorned with colorful art depicting life's fleeting moments passing by unnoticed until they're gone forevermore. I nodded, understanding fully what lay ahead yet wishing desperately things could have been different somehow. If only time could bend or stretch, allowing space enough for both worlds coexisting peacefully without conflict tearing apart lives already frayed, edges threatening collapse under pressure mounting steadily, growing stronger each passing day. "Let's make plans again soon," he suggested, hopeful tone lingering between us, hanging delicately suspended midair, filled with possibility yet tinged bittersweet, knowing full well what awaited beyond these walls separating two lives destined never meant collide completely. "Of course," came my soft reply, masking trepidation lurking beneath surface, bubbling just below skin, wanting desperately escape confines, holding tightly onto comfort found only here. And just like that it ended. The moment slipped away, leaving echoes behind, haunting memories lingering long after lights dimmed, fading slowly into shadows cast behind. As I watched him leave, feeling torn between comfort and desire, a choice lay ahead demanding attention, beckoning gently, urging action taken before slipping away entirely, lost forevermore. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows that stretched across the park. I stood at the edge of the rhododendron festival grounds, surrounded by vibrant blooms and laughter. Yet, I felt a heaviness in my chest, a dissonance between the world around me and the turmoil within. After he left, I had thrown myself into mundane tasks at home. My husband returned from his trip, blissfully unaware of the emotional storm brewing beneath my calm exterior. He filled the silence with stories of his travels, but I found it increasingly difficult to engage. Each word felt like a reminder of what I had been missing, an adventure that stirred something deep inside me. "Did you enjoy your time at the festival?" he asked one evening as we shared dinner. "Of course," I replied, forcing a smile. "It was lovely." I could see him nodding, pleased with my response. But my thoughts drifted back to him, the young man whose presence had ignited a spark I hadn't felt in years. The memory of our last meeting lingered like an uninvited guest in my mind. Days passed in a blur of routine and suppressed feelings. The weight of secrecy pressed down on me, making it harder to breathe. Every glance at my husband felt heavy with unspoken truths. When he left for work each morning, I found myself staring out the window, longing for a glimpse of someone who had become both a comfort and a source of anxiety. One afternoon, while walking through the park alone, I spotted an acquaintance from town, a woman named Claire who often frequented the cafe where we had met. She waved cheerfully as she approached me. "Hey there. How are you?" "Enjoying the festival?" she asked brightly. "Just trying to keep busy," I replied, forcing myself to sound upbeat. "Busy is good. Keeps your mind off things," she said with a knowing smile that made me uneasy. I wondered if she sensed something was off or if her comment was merely innocent banter. Regardless, Her presence felt suffocating, as if she could peer into my soul and uncover all that lay hidden beneath layers of pretense. As we chatted about trivial matters, the weather and local gossip, I couldn't shake off an unsettling feeling that perhaps someone else knew about my secret rendezvous. The thought gnawed at me like an itch I couldn't scratch. What would happen if word got out? Would my carefully constructed life unravel before my eyes? Later that evening, as I sat on our porch sipping tea while watching fireflies dance in the twilight, my phone buzzed with an incoming message from him, a simple "thinking of you." My heart raced as warmth spread through me, yet alongside it came guilt like a shadow creeping in from behind. I hesitated before typing back, but finally responded with an equally simple "me too." The exchange felt electric yet dangerous, a reminder of everything that hung in balance. Days turned into weeks, each meeting felt increasingly fraught with tension. We found ourselves stealing moments together whenever possible, quick lunches at the cafe or brief walks through secluded paths in the park, but every stolen second added weight to our secret. One afternoon, while sitting on a bench surrounded by blooming rhododendrons, he looked at me earnestly. "I don't want this to end," he said softly. My heart sank at his words. They echoed fears I had pushed aside for too long. "Neither do I admitted cautiously. "But what about everything else?" he pressed gently. "We can figure it out," I murmured, though uncertainty clawed at me from within. He reached for my hand, a small gesture yet charged with meaning, and for a moment all doubts faded away into nothingness as we sat there lost in each other's gaze until reality intruded once more. Time was slipping away faster than anticipated. In those quiet moments together, we shared more than just kisses. We opened up about our lives, past regrets and dreams unfulfilled, laying bare pieces of ourselves that rarely saw daylight outside this bubble we created together amidst chaos outside its walls. Yet just as quickly as hope blossomed between us came another twist. During one such encounter in town while waiting for coffee at our usual spot, I overheard two women whispering nearby about him, about his family ties and connections within our community that ran deeper than mere acquaintanceship. "Isn't he dating someone much older?" one woman remarked with disdain dripping from her voice. The words struck like lightning. Suddenly everything shifted beneath me. The fragile foundation upon which our relationship stood began to tremble under scrutiny beyond anything either of us anticipated facing together or apart. "What did you hear?" Panic surged through me when finally confronted him later that day after finding solace alone among those blooming flowers again, their beauty now tainted by fear lurking just below surface level where secrets festered quietly waiting for exposure into light once more. He paused before answering. Uncertainty clouded his expression as he let out a shaky breath before speaking slowly. "People talk, rumors spread fast." "What do they say?" My voice, barely above a whisper, now filled with dread, echoing louder than any festival music surrounding us earlier today. They think you're just going through something." His words trailed off into silence laden heavy with implications neither wanted to acknowledge fully yet couldn't escape either way anymore. Not without consequences looming closer every passing moment spent together amidst chaos swirling around them, both still hidden behind closed doors. In that instant, standing there amidst vibrant blooms fading slowly under twilight skies surrounding us now, it became clear how trapped we truly were between two worlds colliding head-on, leaving nothing but wreckage behind once decisions needed addressing sooner rather than later before everything fell apart completely without warning, leaving nothing but echoes behind, haunting memories lingering long after lights dimmed, fading slowly into shadows cast behind. The weight of the moment hung between us, a palpable tension that neither of us could ignore. I looked at him, the young man whose laughter once filled my days with lightness and joy. Now, it felt like a countdown to an inevitable conclusion. His expression mirrored my turmoil, caught between desire and the harsh reality looming over us. "I don't want to be just a secret," he said quietly, his voice barely rising above the rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. "I care about you." His admission struck me like a thunderclap. I had been so consumed by my own fears and doubts that I hadn't considered how deeply he might feel about our situation. The thought of him wanting more than this hidden affair sent a shiver down my spine. I had been so focused on preserving my comfortable life that I hadn't truly examined what this relationship meant for him, or for me. Careful, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. You know what this is, what we are. The words felt heavy on my tongue, laden with all the unspoken truths we had danced around since our first encounter. He stepped closer, his eyes searching mine for something, understanding, acceptance, perhaps even forgiveness for the tangled web we had woven together. I can't help how I feel, he said softly. And pretending it's nothing isn't fair to either of us. A gust of wind swept through the park, rustling the rhododendron petals that adorned the paths where we stood. Their vibrant colors seemed to mock our somber conversation, reminding me of the festival's initial allure and how it now felt like a fading memory, a beautiful facade hiding deeper cracks beneath. I'm not ready to lose you, he continued, his voice laced with urgency. But I can't keep living in shadows. His words echoed in my mind as I turned away from him momentarily, staring into the distance where twilight painted everything in shades of gray and uncertainty. My marriage was unraveling before me, cracks were forming beneath the surface that I had tried so hard to ignore. My husband's recent absence had created space for reflection, a space filled with doubt and longing. You don't understand, I finally managed to say as I faced him again. My life isn't just mine anymore. The guilt crept back in like an unwelcome guest at a party. Then let's change it together, he urged, stepping forward again with fervor. You deserve happiness too. Happiness, what did that even mean anymore? The word felt foreign on my lips as if it belonged to someone else entirely. My husband's return from his work trip loomed over me like an impending storm. Every moment spent here with him only deepened my internal conflict. I need time, I whispered, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes as vulnerability washed over me like a wave crashing against rocky shores. He nodded slowly but didn't step back. Instead, he reached for my hand gently and held it between us, a silent promise forged in uncertainty and hope. Just then, a familiar figure appeared at the edge of our secluded spot, my husband returning earlier than expected from his trip. His presence shattered whatever fragile connection we were building in that moment. Panic surged through me as reality crashed down harder than before. Hey! There you are. He waved cheerfully but paused when he noticed our intertwined hands, his smile faltering just enough for me to see concern flicker across his face. Just catching up, I stammered awkwardly as I pulled away from the young man's grasp instinctively. Looks like you two were having quite an intense conversation. My husband's tone was light-hearted but carried an edge of suspicion that made my stomach churn. The young man took a step back, allowing space between us that felt both necessary and painful all at once. Yeah, just discussing some things. My voice sounded hollow even to my own ears as if everything meaningful had drained out along with any semblance of confidence. I'm glad you're getting along. He smiled again but it didn't reach his eyes, those deep pools reflecting confusion mixed with something darker lurking beneath them. As we exchanged pleasantries filled with forced laughter and strained smiles, I couldn't shake off how much had changed in mere moments. The delicate balance we'd crafted now teetering dangerously close to collapse under scrutiny neither one of us wanted but could no longer avoid. After what felt like an eternity wrapped in superficiality, my husband suggested heading home together while inviting the young man to join us for dinner later on, a casual offer that sent dread coursing through me like ice water straight into my veins. No thanks, he replied quickly before turning his gaze back towards me with an intensity that made my heart race uncomfortably fast. The look spoke volumes about unspoken understanding shared only between two people caught up in something they couldn't quite define yet couldn't escape either way without consequences looming ever closer still hidden behind closed doors. as they walked ahead together chatting amiably about mundane topics while leaving me lagging behind lost within swirling thoughts threatening to drown out all sense of clarity. I realized how truly trapped we all were within this fragile web spun from desire yet tangled tightly around expectations, suffocating any chance at freedom lingering just out of reach. Later that evening after dinner concluded amidst polite conversation filled with laughter echoing off walls painted bright colors masking deeper truths hidden beneath layers carefully constructed over years. I found myself alone once more standing outside under starlit skies reflecting on choices made leading up until now still feeling uncertain whether they were right or wrong. In those moments spent pondering possibilities swirling endlessly around inside, I knew something significant would soon shift irrevocably altering pathways forged thus far leaving echoes behind haunting memories lingering long after lights dimmed fading slowly into shadows cast behind. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of blooming rhododendrons and distant laughter from the festival. I stood there, alone, absorbing the weight of the moment. The stars twinkled above me, indifferent to my tangled emotions. I had spent countless evenings in this small town, but tonight felt different, charged with an energy that both exhilarated and terrified me. He had left a few hours ago, our last conversation echoing in my mind. It had been a simple exchange, yet it held depths I hadn't anticipated. He spoke about his dreams and aspirations with a sincerity that made my heart ache. I wanted to tell him everything, the fears that gnawed at me, the guilt that shadowed my every thought, but instead, I listened as he shared his hopes for the future. "Maybe we can meet again," he said, his eyes searching mine for something unspoken. "Maybe," I replied, though uncertainty clouded my voice. As I walked back to my house, each step felt heavier than the last. The familiar path was now fraught with memories of stolen moments and whispered secrets. My husband would be home soon from his trip, and the reality of my life loomed large, a life filled with obligations and expectations that felt increasingly suffocating. Inside the house, shadows danced against the walls as I flicked on lights. The silence wrapped around me like a shroud, amplifying the loneliness I struggled to ignore. The clutter of daily life surrounded me, piles of laundry waiting to be folded, dishes stacked in the sink, reminders of a routine I had long accepted but no longer embraced. I poured myself a glass of wine and sank into an armchair in our living room. The soft fabric enveloped me like a warm hug as I stared out of the window into the darkened street beyond. Flickering streetlights illuminated empty sidewalks where couples once strolled during festival nights. The phone rang suddenly, breaking through my thoughts. It was him. His name flashing across the screen brought both warmth and dread. "Hey," he said when I answered, his voice brightening my mood instantly. "Hi," I replied softly. "I just wanted to check in," he continued. "How are you holding up?" "Just thinking," I admitted. "About us?" Silence hung between us for a moment before he spoke again. "I don't want you to feel pressured or anything." "I know," I said quickly. "But it's complicated." "I get it." His tone shifted slightly, there was an edge of vulnerability there that tugged at my heartstrings. "I'm not sure what we're doing," I confessed quietly. "Neither am I." He paused before continuing carefully. "But whatever it is, it matters." Did it? Was this fleeting connection worth jeopardizing everything? The question loomed large in my mind as we exchanged tentative words about our days and hopes for tomorrow. Eventually, we ended our call with promises of future conversations but left with more questions than answers hanging heavily between us. Days passed slowly after that night. The festival faded into memory as life resumed its mundane rhythm. My husband returned home filled with stories from his trip. He seemed oblivious to the turmoil brewing beneath my surface. We shared meals and conversations marked by familiarity but devoid of true connection. One evening while cleaning up after dinner, he turned to me with an earnest expression. "We should plan a getaway soon, just you and me." The suggestion hit hard, it felt like an anchor pulling me back down into waters where I'd fought so hard to break free. "That sounds nice," was all I could manage to say while inside turmoil raged on unchecked. Later that night, as we settled onto opposite ends of our bed, a chasm widening between us, I couldn't help but think about him, the young man whose laughter still echoed in my ears like music long forgotten yet hauntingly familiar. When morning came, sunlight streamed through our bedroom window, illuminating dust particles dancing freely in its rays, a stark contrast to how trapped I felt inside myself. I decided then that clarity was needed. Perhaps confronting this situation head-on would provide answers, or at least some semblance of peace within this chaos swirling around me like autumn leaves caught in an unpredictable windstorm. I texted him later that day, "Can we meet? We need to talk." My heart raced as soon as I hit send, anticipation mingled with dread coursing through my veins until finally receiving his reply. A simple yes accompanied by an enthusiasm that made butterflies flutter wildly within me once more, despite knowing what lay ahead would not be easy. We chose a quiet cafe tucked away from bustling streets, the kind where whispers floated freely amid warm aromas wafting from freshly brewed coffee machines blending seamlessly with baked goods lining glass cases invitingly glistening under soft lighting, casting gentle shadows across intimate tables set for two. Sitting across from him now felt surreal, an electric tension crackling in the air around us as we exchanged nervous glances before diving into uncharted territory laden with uncertainty yet tinged sweetly by hope, lingering just beneath surface tension waiting patiently for release. "I've been thinking," he started hesitantly before pausing mid-sentence, clearly grappling internally over how best approach delicate subject matter weighing heavily upon both our hearts. "What if," he continued, finally gathering courage necessary, voice trembling slightly, revealing vulnerability hidden beneath youthful bravado. "What if we didn't have to end this?" His words hung suspended between us like fragile glass teetering precariously on edge, ready shatter at slightest provocation, yet somehow resonating deeply within corners long neglected, yearning acknowledgement finally breaking free from shackles imposed upon them. "But what does it mean?" My voice trembled slightly, betraying underlying fear lurking just beneath surface calm facade carefully maintained throughout previous encounters, filled laughter, joy mixed, bittersweet realization, impending consequences looming ominously overhead, threatening disrupt fragile equilibrium established thus far. "It means," he leaned forward, searching desperately for words capable conveying feelings swirling tumultuously inside him, unable articulate fully despite depth, sincerity evident shining brightly through eyes sparkling like stars against backdrop darkened sky, enveloping us both intimately cocooned within space created solely between two souls, yearning connection beyond boundaries defined society imposed upon them. And then suddenly, without warning, clarity struck, illuminating path ahead, casting shadows aside, revealing truth hidden deep within hearts, longing embrace forged through moments shared together, weaving tapestry, rich vibrant colors reflecting journey traversed thus far, culminating unexpected crossroads faced, now demanding choices made, ultimately defining futures awaiting each individual separately yet intertwined intricately, forever changed regardless outcome chosen today. As silence enveloped us momentarily, a stillness-pregnant possibility unfolding before us, I took a deep breath, gathering courage necessary confront fears lurking just beyond horizon, beckoning attention, urgently demanding acknowledgement, unwilling remain silent any longer, allowing voices drown out truths long buried beneath layers crafted over years spent, conforming expectations placed upon shoulders, heavy laden responsibilities carried silently throughout adult life, never questioning validity. Choices made a long way leading here, now standing brink precipice, uncertain future awaiting eagerly ahead, beckoning exploration, unknown territories lying beyond familiar confines, established previously, comfort zones cultivated over time.